Nelson Cruz resigns. Alex Coleman headed to Minnesota. Let's get into the state of the Minnesota Twins. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the Laracuente Legend Network. And as I said in the open, we are going to be discussing the state of the Minnesota Twins here on this video. So make sure you keep it locked in by hitting that subscribe button and that bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content here on the Laracuente Legend Network, as there's a lot more coming from the game of Major League Baseball this season, as well as a plethora of new topics here on the Laracuente Legend Network. So the only way to keep it locked in is by hitting that subscribe button and that bell to stay notified. Now, before we get into the details of this video, I want to let you know that there is a corresponding and accompanying article for this particular installment of the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the state of the Minnesota Twins over on LaracuenteLedger.com. I will leave links to that down in the show notes below. But let's get into it. So let's begin with the re-signing of Nelson Cruz. Now, in my opinion, this was a must-have move for the Minnesota Twins. Since arriving in Minnesota, Nelson Cruz has been on the warpath for the Minnesota Twins. He's really elevated their play as a team because of his experience and his postseason experience. He's really made this team hungry to compete, and I think that in and of itself was one of the major reasons for bringing him back. Not to mention that he's been a major offensive threat from a Minnesota Twins uniform. Since joining the Twins in 2019, Cruz has had an OPS plus on the Minnesota Twins of 168 with a slash line of 308, 394, and 626. Now, when you look at the designated hitter position, there's a lot of debate about the position itself, whether or not it should remain in Major League Baseball, whether it should be added to the National League. Personally, I've given my thoughts and my theories on this in previous videos and previous articles on LaracuenteLedger.com. But the short form answer is I'm very much for this, and I believe that the National League should also adopt the practice of the DH. But getting into the Nelson Cruz aspect of it, the designated hitter position was built for a man like Nelson Cruz. This man's best weapon defensively is his bat on offense. There's no doubt about it. Now, Cruz will be heading into his age 40 season, but when you look at what the man has been able to produce for his career, you're talking serious numbers. 417 home runs, 1,152 RBIs, and a career slash line of 278, 347, and 529 with a career OPS plus of 133. Now, what do these numbers mean? They mean that Nelson Cruz has been a dominant force at the plate. Now, the Minnesota Twins wouldn't just stop there, as they would bring in Jhap. Now, Jhap isn't going to be the guy with a blistering fastball, but he knows how to work the zone. And ironically enough, even having a low 90s fastball, the man still works up in the zone to his benefit. Going to the expansive target field is going to really play up Jhap's ability and his talent, as he is more of a fly ball pitcher by pitching up in the zone. When you add in the fact that Jhap is going to now be playing in front of guys like Byron Buxton in the outfield, who's going to be able to track down basically everything that is hit in his direction that is not over the fence. This is going to play out very well for Jhap. Now, we covered Jhap in more depth here on the Laracuente Legend Network and on the Baseball Banter Broadcast, so I will leave links to that video down in the show notes below, as well as up in the YouTube card. But Minnesota wouldn't stop there either. They would also sign reliever Alex Coleman. Now, bringing in Coleman to me was a huge move because I do think that the weakest aspect of the Minnesota Twins is currently their bullpen. There's not a lot of certified value that you know you're getting from their bullpen at this moment in time. So bringing in a guy like Alex Coleman with a track record for a 1-year, $5 million deal to me is a steal on the market. Coleman is likely going to compete and head to the back end of the bullpen, meaning the closer role, competing with the likes of Taylor Rogers for the job. Now, beyond those two guys is where, to me, the Minnesota Twins have to push forward and try to make a few more moves. But we'll get into the bullpen in just a moment. We would also see the Minnesota Twins bring in the defensive specialist that is Andrelton Simmons. Now, we've covered Andrelton Simmons as well on a video here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast, which I will leave links to down in the show notes below. When you look at what Andrelton can provide the Minnesota Twins, he elevates their defense as a team by just bringing in this one player, and to me is a huge move Even though it may not seem like a very big deal on the surface of it, I think that Andrelton Simmons signing with the Minnesota Twins really helps push the Twins up to another level. So let's get into the state of the Minnesota Twins rotation. The rotation begins with the flamethrower Jose Berrios. When you look at what Berrios can be, in my opinion, this is a Cy Young Award winner waiting to happen. I think that with a couple of tweaks to his delivery and to his mentality on the mound, he is going to really find it and be one of the game's best. I very much believe in this right-hander. He is one of my favorite pitchers to watch take the mound. So most of the time when I'm watching Minnesota Twins games, Jose Berrios is starting the game. You also now have Kenta Maeda, who would have a breakout 2020 campaign, as well as Jhap that we previously spoke about. Now, beyond that is where the questions come in for the Minnesota Twins. What they do with the last two spots in the rotation is going to be something we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But names like Michael Pineda and Randy Dobnak are likely the favorites to begin at those spots, or at least compete for those spots in spring training, not to mention anybody that the Twins bring in between now and then. When you have a solid three at the front end of the rotation, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of sustain and pull forward. But I do think that Minnesota needs to look into bringing in at least one, maybe two more starters in their hunt before the start of the regular season to really solidify themselves as a major threat in the American League Central. Now, as we get into the state of the bullpen for the Minnesota Twins, this again, to me, is the biggest question mark and the biggest weakness for the Minnesota Twins. Outside of Alex Coleman and Taylor Rogers, there really isn't a lot of substance currently in the bullpen. So bringing in another two, maybe three arms to that bullpen is going to have the Twins in a better place going into the 2021 campaign. Now, that's not to say that the guys that they have in that bullpen right now couldn't turn into something, as they're just unknown quantities right now. But in my opinion, I do think that the Minnesota Twins should look into bringing in another couple of arms for that bullpen. As we head into the state of the defense for the Minnesota Twins, to me this is where Andrelton Simmons' name has to be brought up and as the biggest piece. Yes, you have one of the best, if not the best, defender in center field in Byron Buxton, who's able to track down basically anything hit to him within a 1 mile radius. But when you look at what Andrelton Simmons does, by bringing him in at shortstop, you move Jorge Polanco to second base, which elevates his defense because he's going to have more time to make proper throws, get his footwork right, and on top of that, if he does kind of bobble the ball, have more time to be able to throw a runner out. Also, by bringing Andrelton Simmons in, you now give him even more range over on the left side of the infield, which makes Josh Donaldson have to cover less ground, and we know how good of a defender and how underrated of a defender Josh Donaldson still is. So now you've elevated the defense on the left side of the infield, you've pushed Polanco over to second, which makes his defense better. And even though you still have Miguel Sano at first base, whose defense is not going to be great, getting more accurate and sure throws from a guy like Andrelton Simmons is going to help his defensive numbers as well. You also have, in my opinion, one of the more underrated defenders in right field in Max Kepler. So now you're looking at a team that is much more solidified in terms of their defensive prowess and ability. By bringing in Andrelton Simmons, they really elevate their defense. Now, as far as the state of the offense for the Minnesota Twins, to me, this is going to be their calling card. I think when you look at what this team is capable of doing, just a couple of years ago, they were breaking down the barrier for single-season team home runs and would end up with 307 home runs in 2019. This team is very similar to what that team was and very easily could head back towards those numbers. Are they going to be able to crush that number out? It's doubtful, but they are still going to be a very good offensive team in a division that has really only two major threats, the Twins and the White Sox. So let's get into my final thoughts here on the Minnesota Twins. They are a team that has felt like they're on the brink of success. They're on the brink of pushing past the first round of the playoffs. And this roster feels very, very similar to the teams of the past. That they feel like they're just on the cusp of hitting to that next level in terms of their ability and their potential and advancing on in the postseason. But there still feels like there's a couple of vacancies and a couple of spots of weakness on this team, i.e. the back end of the rotation as well as the bullpen. But if I were a fan of the Minnesota Twins, I would be cautiously optimistic about this team, as there are things that you can see have real value and real potential to push this team forward in 2021. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Minnesota Twins fans, let me know what you're feeling about the moves that the Twins have made this offseason, and where does this place them in the American League Central rankings and the American League rankings as a whole. As I said before, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and the bell to stay notified, as it does a huge service for us here at the channel, and that's the only way for you to be alerted every time we drop new content here on the Laracuente Legend Network. We have more stuff coming, so make sure you keep it locked in. And to get the full Laracuente Legend Network experience, make sure you head over to patreon.com, search for the Laracuente Legend Network, and join us, as your support will help continue bringing this content from us here at the Laracuente Legend Network each and every week. But I will catch you guys the next time the latest news, notes, or my personal thought, theories, and opinions have to be dropped about the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.